Hello and welcome to the Ice Guys, brought to you by the National Hockey Now Network. This is the show that takes you into the world of the National Hockey League. Every game, every day, from a betting perspective. With pro sports handicappers, Ian Cameron, Alex B. Smith, and various guests from the world of hockey and sports betting. And now, here's your host, Ian Cameron.
Welcome to the Ice Guys, presented by National Hockey Now. It is Tuesday, November the 8th. Ian Cameron with you, ready to break down the card. And we have a special guest joining us here today on the show. And I believe he's in his office at work today. So here he is working. I think so. But he's here with us, Josh Eunice, former hockey player, joining us on the Ice Guys show for a Tuesday. Josh, great to have you on the Ice Guys. Thanks for joining us.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you for having me. Yeah, it's I'm sitting here in my office. I don't know how much I'll bring to the picks, but no, I appreciate the invite. It's been a while since I've got to talk hockey.
No, absolutely. And I know you get the daily betting emails from me in all sports. And as you know, Josh, you found this out over time like everybody does. The Ian Cameron style of betting isn't for the faint of heart. It is high volume. It is a lot of bets on a daily basis across all sports. But honestly, that's the style that I found works for me. I'm not one of these people that does as well when I'm picky, where I say, oh, I'm only going to pick this, bet this game and this game. And a lot of times back in the day, I'd go 0-2 with just sticking with two bets. And then there'd be a bunch that I left off the card and they won and I'd be frustrated by it. So I'm like, no, if I like it, I'm betting it and I'm sending it out to everybody. So, and it's worked that way. I do better work. I have better results doing things that way. And I think that's important to remind everybody when it comes to sports betting. Find your niche, find your style that fits you the best and the one that gives you the most success. Josh, as we've done with all our former players that have been on the show, we'd like to do a little who is Josh Eunice to begin, your hockey background a little bit, how many years you played, where you played a little bit, and how it came to be that you got into hockey.
Yeah, so I was raised Toledo, Ohio, played here, single A, double A hockey all the way up till I was about 14 years old. Was raised by a single mother. Don't have any real relationship with my father. So my mom was an anesthesiologist in Toledo. And, she did everything she possibly could to just get me to practice at home and put me in a situation to succeed. And, I fell in love with the Toledo Storm. Really, I fell in love with the Zamboni, but nevertheless, that led to the only way you could see the Zamboni that my mom would allow was to actually learn how to skate. And then I fell into the goalie position. I always loved goalie. My mom, it was a little stressful for her. And, looking back retrospectively, it was makes sense. I mean, my mom was an anesthesiologist, had stress on her every day, people's lives in her hand. And, the last thing she wanted to do was go to the hockey rink and, have her son kind of sitting on the island back there. But she was on call one weekend and no goalie showed up at a tryout. And next thing I know, I made the team and subsequently got grounded. But it turned out to take me all over the world. I moved to Ann Arbor when I was 16 to play for the U.S. national team.
Best grounding ever.
Yeah. My first pair of pads were a set of DR, horse, deer hair, everything kind of stuffed in them. Old school pads. But no, I moved to Ann Arbor when I was 16 to play for the U.S. national team. Played there with, I'm trying to think, James Van Riemsdyk, Kevin Shattenkirk, Ian Cole, Ryan McDonough, Pat Kane.
All still in the league, too.
All just naming guys still in the league, yeah. Colin Wilson, he just retired. But it was after that, I was lucky enough to get drafted in the third round of the NHL to Chicago. The year Patrick Kane went first overall. Drafted with him, Akeem Alou, myself, Alex Tanguay. So it was, that was fun. I went to 3 years of camp there. Also went to camp with the Thrashers their last year in Atlanta. And then after that, my final NHL camp was with the Leafs. But after I got drafted, I went to the OHL, played 2.5 years in the OHL before I had a a bit of a knee injury that was kind of nagging, and I was an overager in Windsor, and just decided it was time to get a college degree. So I went to the University of Western Ontario, played there, almost won a national championship, and then when I was done with college, I went and played professionally, kind of from the East Coast League to the Slovakian League to the Finnish SM League, and ultimately retired June 26th of 2016 because of some concussion issues. So I've been all over the world, yeah.
You have been, definitely. And I remember actually watching you play with the OHL, the Kitchener Rangers, Windsor Spitfires, of course, way back in, that was like the 2000s. And you were, of course, drafted by the Chicago Blackhawks. It's disappointing. My co-host and colleague, Alex B. Smith, he's under the weather today. Not unable to join the show. He's feeling under the weather. He's a Blackhawks fan. So obviously you were drafted by that Chicago Blackhawks team, 2007. That was just before the dynasty era was about to begin for the Blackhawks, right before Kane and Taves arrived. And obviously, the rest is history. They had a great run over the course of the decade. I do have to bring something up. You mentioned, Josh, your time with the Western Mustangs, of course, in the Canadian University hockey ranks. There is something that I came across here. We'll see if we can bring this up on screen here right now. But here it is. This picture, I mean, you look absolutely demoralized here and just crestfallen, heartbroken. I can only assume this is after the championship, a loss in a playoff game or championship game or what, but you look like you look like you just lost your best friend here, honestly.
Yeah, that's the one picture. So my fiance, she found the same one. That's like the one picture I wish would go away, but it's, everything's out there.
The thing is, we go into the vault with our guests. We did this with Jay Rose. We've done this with everybody that's been on the show. We do show a few rolls, a few video highlights, a picture or two, and this came up, and I'm like, we got to ask Josh about this because he looks devastated.
Yeah. So actually, funny enough, that's Keaton Turkowitz behind me. He's probably one of the best pure goal scorers I ever played with, and I played with Azevedo, Taylor Hall, Adam Henrique, Greg Nemes, and he was in the OHL with Belleville when they PK Subban. We beat them in the OHL finals in Kitchener, and he was a grinder. That's the role that he had to take, and that's the position he had to play. And at Western, he finally got the chance to show the offensive prowess he had, and he moved on to a career in business. But to this day, I will say he's probably one of the best pure shooters I ever played with or against. But this game is after we went in. This is the national championship game. We lost in overtime, 4-3 to McGill.
Well, no wonder you're fucking devistated.
That's
as rough as you can ask for.
We went into that tournament the lowest rated team. We beat the University of Moncton in the first game. I got player of the game. We got outshot a lot to a little. Then we went and played the University of New Brunswick, and I don't think they had even lost. They may have lost one game all year. They were loaded, and we got outshot a lot to a little in that one as well. We won. I got player of the game in that game, and then we went and played McGill. And oh my gosh, what's his name? Evan Bosson. They got a 3-on-2 in overtime, and he whiffed, and it went 5-hole for them to win it. I actually played with him in Kansas City a couple years later. But that was probably one of the best streaks of hockey I've ever played in my life, and to come up. I mean, we hit a post just before that to win it. But yeah, nevertheless, stats-wise, the tournament was great for me, but we ended up, 1 goal short.
Yeah, absolutely. That's gut-wrenching. To say the least. Now it totally makes sense why, sometimes the picture just paint, you can get 1,000 words in a picture, as they say. And that's what this is, definitely. That's tough. You're right. And it seems like you're right. A lot of times in overtime in any hockey game, whether it's regardless of what level it is, NHL, junior, minor leagues, whatever, it seems like in overtime, if you have a chance and you either get stopped on a breakaway, you hit the post or something, it ends up going the other way and in the back of your net. I mean, it's insane how many times I have seen that over the course. Like, I've been watching hockey for 30 years now, and I know I've seen that a shit ton of times happen. It's just amazing how you fail to capitalize at one end, it comes back the other end and bites you.
Yeah, I'm looking back. I was thinking, I think I averaged like 47 shots a game against while we were in that tournament. I mean, we were one goal away, and McGill had our number. I mean, I think they beat us 3 times that year. Yeah, it was. I'm happy there's not a video, because I couldn't avoid the Sportsnet camera if I wanted. I tried. They scored. They were in my face like 2 seconds after the puck went in the net. I got up. I went to the bench. I had like our trainers trying to keep the camera away.
I know why they're doing what they're doing. They're trying to do their job. They're trying to capture the moment. I get that. But when the emotions take over for how you're feeling at the moment, it's like, get the fuck away from me. Get out of here.
Yeah, exactly. It was just like, okay, you got they got their photo. So let's, let me just kind of unwind. I mean, it was from the highest of the high to the lowest of the low.
Can I not have a moment's peace? Right. That's
yeah. I mean, I like to say in my career, I did a good job of getting to the finals and the championship, and we lost in overtime in Windsor, or in the finals to Spokane when they broke the trophy. So that was,
they pulled a Nicholas Aube-Kubel, you're saying.
Yeah, and then in Windsor, we won the Memorial Cup the next year. When I was at the U.S. program, we lost to Alexei Cherepanov in the finals of the under-18 World Championship. We had quite the upset at World Juniors in Ottawa when we lost to Slovakia. But, I mean, this one, that was probably one of the hardest losses I ever had, because it was, there was a horseshoe. I had a horseshoe. It was up my rear end, but it just fell out, 1 goal short.
Hey, that's I've seen goalies come from nowhere, and of course Josh Plate was a goaltender. I've seen goalies come out of nowhere, do nothing really of substance for much of their career, and then they put together this 20-30 game stretch where it's just they're like Dominic Hasek in Reincarnate, Grant Fuhr, Ken Dryden, Bernie Perrant. I mean, they're playing that good, and they just find an incredible zone, and they're in that zone for a long period of time. It kind of sounds like that's what happened with you with that Western playoff run. It was just, you were seeing it. The puck was like a beach ball to you, and it was just, the game was coming at you very easily in terms of playing in between the pipes.
Yeah, no, it was one heck of a run. You're not the only one that can do some research, so I'm gonna pull up here all of the games, because.
Well, Cherepanov, by the way, rest in peace to him. I mean, just a tragic loss here that he died at such a young age, and he was such a talent that he was going to be potentially for the New York Rangers in the NHL. It's just very sad that what happened with him, no doubt.
Yeah, it was, to be honest, he was unbelievable. He was so good. I mean, don't quote me on this, but I think he had a hat trick in the finals of under 18s, and I mean, he was just dominant. And our team we were stacked. Yeah. I mean, we were. It was no reason why we should have lost.
Yeah, that's a tough way to lose. I will say that, but you can always look back though and say, hey, I did the best. I did everything I could. I couldn't have played much better, and you got to at least be proud with the performance you put forth, definitely in that run. We're going to get to we're going to talk to some NHL on the Tuesday card. We'll break down every game in just a sec. One last thing we're going to talk about with Josh's past is, if you want to see Josh angry, we're about to show you a moment where Josh Eunice is very, very angry. Check this out. Now, for those of you that are listening to the podcast and not on YouTube, that's Josh Eunice trying to attack the opposing goaltender in the OHL days with the Windsor Spitfires. And that referee or linesman, whoever it was, it's like me trying to chase my dog in my backyard. It's like, get over here, just got a piece of you to stop you from going to the other end of the ice.
Yeah, it was that. There's a funny story with that one. So when I was in Windsor, DJ Smith, coach for Ottawa, we had this thing where we penalty kill. We would always, if we were winning by multiple goals, we'd take a penalty with a couple minutes left. No. Well, that game we were up 7-0. The goalie in the other net, Jeremy Smith, and I played together in Michigan and against each other in the OHL. And we were up
also 7, a little rivalry developed.
7-0. And I felt bad. He was still in the game. I have no idea why. But we went down 5-on-3, and they broke my shutout on a, I don't even remember the goal. But nevertheless, then after that, pandemonium ensues. And I'm like, well, shutout's gone, so let's do it. He was motioning to me to come down. I wanted him to come to me, and I just guess I waited too long. There were so many fights going on. What you don't see in the clip is the referee beeline. He was actually not just there waiting for me to come. He beeline from like another group over. And yeah, the shoelace tackles, I tried to do the spin move around him, but
that's the thing. He just barely got a piece of you, and it was enough.
Yeah, those Mon pads, looking back. But Jeremy's actually a great guy. Spoke to him, still try to stay in touch. But we just wanted out of the game, to be honest. What I didn't expect was the 2-game suspension I got for removing my helmet right at the end. Yeah. But nevertheless, it was, quite the story.
It's funny you mentioned removing the helmet. That's a rule that just pisses me right off in the NFL. That you get a 15-yard penalty for just taking your helmet. That almost cost DJ Moore and the Carolina Panthers. Actually, kind of did a few weeks ago, or just a couple weeks ago against the Atlanta Falcons. He took his helmet off. It pushed the extra point back. They ended up missing it, and the game stays tied, and they have to go to overtime, and they lose in overtime. So it's. I think we're getting a little crazy with the kind of rules and the penalties we're putting into sports. And that one, to me, I think they should adjust that. But that's a story for another day. But just a little moment there from Josh from the OHL days, where a near goalie fight involving him.
Yeah.
Do you think you would have won that fight if it was allowed to happen? You got to have confidence that I'm going to beat the shit out of this guy. I'm going to win it.
Yeah, don't get me wrong. Jeremy's had quite the career. Hell of a goalie. But yeah, I think I would have won that one.
You never.
I think the anger of losing the shutouts a little more than the anger of giving up 7.
Yeah, I agree. I agree with that. Like, the damage has already been done. Yeah. My shutout's broken. I'm pissed off about that. I really wanted that shutout. So I hear what you're saying 100%. All right, let's talk some NHL. That's what we're here for. Josh, just overall, before we get into the Tuesday card, just an overall thumbnail, if you will, from you. What players that have impressed you or disappointed you, teams that have impressed you or disappointed you? What have you seen through the lens of Josh Eunice here, the first month of the NHL season?
To be honest, I think it's kind of been, Boston obviously taken and running. It's nice to see Carter Hart kind of bounce back from the year last year. I think he's a heck of a goalie. The article where he's quoted about, Carey Price's impact on him. It's so funny because growing up, I worked with a guy named Ian Clark, who's the goalie coach at Vancouver. And, we were Carey Price, look how calm he is. And I hope Carey can some point in time make it back. But it's so true, just the impact, because you look at the top goalies in the game right now, and they are all very, very almost prototypes, younger, calm, athletic, but very regimented and efficient. There's the exception, don't get me wrong, Jonathan Quick and Jack Campbell, and but for the most part, and Fleury, but for the most part, it's very, concise and efficient movement. But I'd say I don't know what Edmonton needs to get over the hump, but I mean, they're one
Well, let me ask
goalie.
you, as a goaltender, Josh, what's wrong with Jack Campbell this year? Like he's fighting the puck. He's now. It's not all on him. Obviously, the Oilers' defense, they come and go. Some nights they're on their game. They're blocking shots. They're positionally sound. They're not turning pucks over. And then there's nights where you can't find that collective blue line with a telescope on the ice, and they're making all kinds of mistakes and just giving up these grade A chances. But I will say this. Yeah, the defense hasn't always been great for the Oilers, but there's no doubt Jack Campbell has to play a little bit better. That's one goal he gave up against Dallas, I remember, on the weekend. I mean, it seemed like it went right. It's like there was a hole in his goalie glove.
It did.
It went right through it.
Netting.
Yep.
Yeah, it went right through. I've actually, when I wore Vaughn, I had the same issue. The netting tends to, they do it loose. And I remember Yannick Weber, a guy had a cannon, and he took a shot when I was in Kitchener and went right through the netting, right through the mesh. I mean, Jack, funny enough, Jack grew up. He's a couple years younger than I am. Jack was good friends with a kid across the street from me. I met Jack Campbell when he was about 13 years old. He is, and went through the U.S. program and goalie summer training with him. And he is a specimen physically, athletically. He is, I think it's no different than Fleury. Fleury at the beginning of the year, people were calling for his head and saying, he's not as good and efficient as he was. And, they picked the wrong goalie in the offseason. And then now look at what he did last week, 3-0, player of the week. Jack Campbell's this, I like to say the same sort of thing. When he gets hot, he can carry the play. It's just, he's just got to find it. He just needs that one game, I think, to get him over the hump. And, he's Edmonton again, like you said, they're not the most defensive or centered team. So they tend to kind of be run and gun. And I think, when you look at when he did so well in Toronto, they were very defense-minded, very focused on the defensive side of the puck, and he got hot. I mean, he's an all-star. You can't ever take that away. But I think a different team, different strategy, there's going to be a learning curve. I mean, you look at Mike Smith. He went to Edmonton. It's like every goalie that goes to Edmonton's numbers kind of fall down, and it's they win a lot of games, but they don't win a lot of games 2-1.
Yeah, the defensive issues. Now, Jay Woodcroft's done a great job trying to improve that. I think down the stretch, regular season last year and in the playoffs. I mean, I don't know if I've seen Edmonton's blue line play better. I mean, he's already done a great job from a coaching standpoint with that, but I've seen them kind of regress to those bad habits and those bad patterns they had at the waning end of the Dave Tippett era before they let him go, when all of a sudden they were just giving up way too much quality. That being said, Jack struggled. He's fighting the puck a little bit. We'll see if he can. And the thing, too, about Jack, and obviously you've met him, you know him a little bit pretty well here, Josh, is that he's very hard on himself. I mean, it's incredible. I mean, last year, this guy's actually playing good still, even though the Leafs lose the game. But because the Leafs lose the game, he's going to make it sound like he was dog shit. Mm-hmm. And he's going to come out to the media and say, I sucked. I've got to be a whole lot better. And he was way too hard on himself half the time. And even the other night where he's struggling, but I think he called his play pathetic, and he's obviously tough on himself. And I know that goes a long way in the dressing room. There's no question about that. But part of it is, hey, you need teammates around you that are going to help you out, clear the front of the net, block shots, not turn the puck over in areas that are going to create rush chances and transition chances for the opponent. So it really works both ways. But I find Jack Campbell, man, sometimes he gets too hard on himself, too down on himself. It's like you got to, it's not all your fault, Jack. There's it's a team game. There's other reasons why the puck goes in.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, you look at it, you look back, first round pick to Dallas, goes to the OHL.
I think we forget that 11th overall with the Dallas Stars. So the raw talent, people saw that. Dallas saw that.
I mean, he stood on his head in World Juniors as an 18-year-old kid. I mean, I trained with him for probably 3, 4, maybe 5 years every summer. And I mean, he is athletically as gifted. I mean, he trains like a Navy SEAL. mean, but you look at it, people, I think everybody got hard on him. First round pick, 11th overall, like you said, goes to Windsor, and people thought, oh, he was just going to tear the league up. Well, that didn't happen. Then he gets traded to the Sioux, right? And then he's on the back foot, and he's kind of, he's hard on himself, but I don't think, in Toronto, he got hot. He got hot at the right time. It was, everybody was behind him. Then you sign the big ticket in Edmonton. People, again, expecting to perform. And it's like, it's not easy stopping a 90-mile-an-hour shot. I mean, it's not. It's hard.
Yeah. And I expect you to sympathize with your brethren.
Yeah. No, I mean, I get asked all the time, you were a third-round pick. How did you not make it? I joke around and say, I don't like working out. But looking back, I mean, a lot of it is. Tell. Yeah. A lot of it is getting. That's why I won't turn my camera on. A lot of it is, it's getting.
It's not like this face is a raging beauty that you're looking at here.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I can't make any chirps, so I'll just keep my mouth shut. But I mean, I think he just needs to get hot. I think he needs confidence, because when he has confidence, you look at the numbers he puts up, and it's they're I mean, he's an all-star. I think it's yeah. I mean, it'll be interesting to see what the goalie market looks like across the U.S. here in probably the next 3 years. I mean, there's some huge Russian prospects just knocking on the door, ready, willing, and able to take over. I mean, look at what Igor did in New York. I mean, you have Vasilevsky walking into the league. Now you have Igor. You have. How
about this California kid? Do you know much about him? He's from California. Dustin Wolf, actually, for the Calgary Flames. Yeah, 21-year-old. They think he's got the potential to be their next big-time goalie.
Yeah, he put up. He played in Everett, I believe. He's a. You look at it, another Carey Price prototype, right? I mean, it's like, I remember, look at the goalie windmill and everything, and now it's like, the easier you can make everything look, the happier organizations and coaching staffs and teams are. So we'll see. I mean, I think you look at. I'm just looking at the expected starters for the Tuesday night games, and I'm looking, and it's like, outside of Jack Campbell, Jonathan Quick, it's a lot of very calm, quiet-looking goalies.
Very economical with their movement, right?
Yeah. And
more positionally, basically be positionally sound. Positioning matters more than raw athleticism and, the acrobatic diving across the crease type saves. Yeah.
How efficient can you be? I mean, it's nice to see Craig Anderson still playing. He used to drive me to the rink in Chicago when I was there.
41 years old and still going.
Going, yeah. Yep. I will say, though, looking at the NHL rosters and the goalies, I do feel old. Well, I mean, it's not a lot of ex-teammates still buzzing.
Yeah, someone in the chat, our YouTube chat for the show right now, mentioning Devin Levi. Yeah, definitely. He's a guy that's going to potentially have a very good future. Florida Panthers draft pick. Fascinating. Northeastern guy, exactly. And Hockey East Rookie of the Month he was. He won a lot of awards there for his performance with the Huskies of Northeastern. So, yeah, that's definitely a guy with a ton of potential moving forward. If we get Josh back on the show, you know what we're doing? We're doing bonus video content. We did this with Jay Rosehill last week. We talked fighting in the league. We'll have to do a goalie's perspective in the NHL, like state of the goalies in the league at some point if we get Josh back on again. That would be a great segment to do, because Josh's insight, as you could clearly hear and clearly tell with goalies, is terrific. So we'll definitely, if we get Josh back on the show, we'll do a goalie-specific segment, bonus segment here for the Ice Guys show. Josh, you ready to break down some Tuesday games?
Yeah, we can give it a whirl.
Let's give it a whirl. Let's start with the Vancouver Canucks taking on the Ottawa Senators. We've got Ottawa minus 125, home favorites, 6.5 the total in this game. These are two teams that are trying to get their seasons back on track. 4-7 for the Ottawa Senators, although it's a 5-game losing streak for them entering this game tonight. Fire DJ was being heard in the crowd after a 2-1 loss to Philadelphia the other night. Pierre Dorion with a very emphatic, impassionate defense of his coach yesterday, saying DJ's our coach, he ain't going anywhere. So the dreaded vote of confidence, if you will, from the GM yesterday for DJ Smith, who's embattled. Like I said on the weekend about DJ Smith, I think he knows. I think he's a solid coach. I do. But I don't. And the thing that the Senator fans are very upset with him for, though, I think is valid right now. How the hell is Nikita Zaitsev playing 20 minutes a night on your blue line? Okay, he could not make it on the Leafs, who have not had a great blue line for years. He struggled with turnovers. Forwards have been taking the puck at him specifically with speed because they know they can probably get around him and get a quality chance. He's struggling right now for the Ottawa Senators. And I'm starting to wonder if maybe DJ is hearing what the fans are thinking, because it looks to me like he is actually a healthy scratch tonight. If you look at the updated forward combinations, line combinations, and defensive pairs for tonight, it looks like they are going to go with Shabbat, Sanderson, Hamonic, Brandstrom, Nick Holden, and it looks like drawing in to the blue line tonight a guy that's had certainly a lot of potential, Jacob Bernard Docker, JBD. Down with JBD, you know me. 22-year-old defenseman here for the Ottawa Senators, a guy that has been in and out. He's had a couple of games with the big club in the past, but nothing significant. He had 5 games in 2020, 8 games with the Senators in 2021, just 1 point in those 13 games. But he hasn't had that extended opportunity with the Senators. Well, he will be in the lineup tonight, so it'll be interesting to see how he fares. And interestingly enough, they're throwing him right into the fire here. Top pairing with Thomas Chabot on that blue line for the Senators tonight. So that's definitely something to keep in mind. Vancouver comes into this game off a disheartening loss to end their homestand against Nashville. You're up 2-0 and you end up losing 4-3 in a shootout. Blown leads continue to be an issue for them. They couldn't hold on to a 3-0 lead in that game. Defensive coverage, still a little bit of a problem. Their power play and their offense is starting to heat up, but being able to keep the puck out of the net's been an issue for them. Ottawa, you could kind of say the same thing at times, although Cam Talbot is back, of course, for them. He's played a few games now. He'll be the starter. It'll be Spencer Martin for the Vancouver Canucks in net, who was actually pretty good for them last year. And this year, a little bit different, 2-0, but 3.28 goals against average, .899 save percentage. So his number's not nearly as good, but Vancouver outscored their opponent in the wins that he got, including the Anaheim win 8-5. He gave up 5 goals in that last start, but Vancouver won the game 8-5. Rather than looking at a side here, I'm looking at just the over 6.5. I do like that. I think it's just reasonable to expect we get goals in this game. It's over 6.5, minus 135. You do have to lay a little bit of juice here with that, but I think you are going to see both teams find the back of the net. It's a series history that has trended over the total of the last 3 meetings between Vancouver and Ottawa have gone over the total with 6-3, 6-2, 4-3 final scores. So I like over 6.5 here with the Canucks and the Senators. I think I'd lean Vancouver if I had to bet a side, because they're starting a road trip. I like that spot. Usually the first road game, there's focus. You want to start the road trip on a good note. You get usually a good effort. But at the same point in time, Ottawa is also off a disheartening loss. I expect them to come out ready to play, and they've got a very good home record this year. When you look at their numbers, 4-3, and the Canucks just 1-5 on the road. So the success at home for Ottawa and the struggles on the road for Vancouver are ultimately going to keep me off the Vancouver side. And I'm just going to go with the over here in this one. Josh, what do you think about Vancouver, Ottawa?
I think we have 2 teams that seemingly find ways to lose. Like you said, both fan bases are not very happy. I think you have 2, very, very young organizations. Personally, having DJ coach me in Windsor, I think DJ Smith is a heck of a coach, super smart. He's a player's coach through and through. And I can't go against that. So I would lean Ottawa. I think Vancouver is just fine. They just find ways to lose. And like you said, Spencer Martin's games this year, it seems like his team is having to just outscore the other team. And Cam Talbot's a heck of a goalie, tried and true, back from the Edmonton Oilers days all the way through, and I think that's what's going to be the difference.
All right, yeah, absolutely. We'll see how he fares here tonight, Cam Talbot, in this game. But yeah, I like over the total here. The one thing, too, about Talbot is we have seen definitely struggles with the Ottawa Senators defensively a lot this year. We've seen struggles with Ottawa defensively. Let's see, if you're getting more high-danger chances you have to face because of that, how will you handle that? But you're right about Vancouver. They have had issues protecting leads. That's got to be a problem. We're almost at the point where if you're going to bet Vancouver, you've got to at least split it up first period and full game, if not put the whole thing on the first period, because they have had some great starts this year, and it's just been incredible how many times they have not been able to sustain it. And then in the second and then in the third period specifically, they're letting these games slip away from them. As far as props go tonight, goal scorer props, the bargain bin, I always say, Josh, on the show, I don't mind people betting your Austin Matthews, Connor McDavid, goal scorer props at plus 110, but I'm looking for a price. I'm looking for a good value, a good bargain. And I always like the situations where you have players moving up the lineup into the top 6 forward group, either moving up to the top line or second line, because they don't get priced that way in terms of their goal scorer prop price. Tanner Pearson's on the top line tonight for the Canucks. Brock Besser is also back from injury. Important to point that out as well. So that's going to help them offensively. I would roll with Andrei Kuzmenko. This kid was a great signing from the KHL by Vancouver. He's got 7 goals already this year, 4 in the last 2 games alone. You continue to get pretty solid prices with him to score a goal. I'd come back to Pinto for the Ottawa Senators, even though he's kind of cooled off lately. He's still getting chances. Timmy Stützle is starting to heat up. He's on the top line now for the Senators. And Derek Brassard, after being a healthy scratch the last couple games, DJ Smith, your guy, Josh, he's putting him into the second line center spot tonight. Derek Brassard, the veteran. So, usually when you get a guy that's been a healthy scratch that first game, they want to show something. So I think a Derek Brassard in the second line center spot flyer to score a goal tonight, and you'll get that around plus 500 in some spots. Terrific value there. Maybe to look at Brassard to find the back of the net. All right, St. Louis and Philadelphia. Blues minus 120 road favorite, 6 the total. It's a very difficult game here. I mean, the Blues are on a back-to-back. I'm not laying a price with the struggling St. Louis Blues on the road right now. They have just been in a free fall, 3-7 now for the Blues. They've lost 7 consecutive games. The homestand was just a disaster for them. 7-4 loss to Montreal, 5-1 loss to LA, 5-2 loss to the Islanders. I thought they were better last night against Boston, but not good enough. They lose again 3-1 to the Boston Bruins. The offense gets shut down. I think they were a little bit better defensively, but again, not good enough to get the win. Just not finding ways right now, the St. Louis Blues and the Philadelphia Flyers. The one thing you've consistently gotten from them year one under Torts is one hell of a strong work ethic throughout the entire hockey team. And the commitment to defense has been there way more than it ever was last year. And Josh talked about Carter Hart's play this year. I think part and parcel of that is not only is he playing better, he's getting better defensive support. Like there's just way more commitment to being structured, making sure you're not turning the puck over, making sure you're clearing the front of the net. You're not letting rebounds and loose change get to the opponent. You're clearing the net instead, and you're helping out Carter Hart, and you're playing better defense in front of him, and you're committing to that side of the puck more than you did last year. I think that has also played a big role in Carter Hart's resurgence this year. I could only look at the Flyers here. They're rested. The Blues are on a back-to-back. They're not finding ways to win here in this game. I certainly lean to the Philadelphia side. You look at the goaltending matchup for this Blues and Flyers game. It looks like there's a potential we're going to see Thomas Greiss here on the second of a back-to-back after obviously last night it was Jordan Binnington in between the pipes. And all I got to say is there's another reason I wouldn't be looking to back the Blues is it's not been great for Thomas Greiss this year. He's made 2 starts, 0-2, 3.29 goals against average, .915 save percentage on the heels of a season that was his worst season as a goaltender in the NHL last year with Detroit, where he had a 3.66 goals against, .891 save percentage. So I would actually look maybe at a Flyer team total over, especially with it only being 2.5, rather than, trust them to win the game, trust them that if it's Greiss in net, which I'm going to wait for confirmation on that. I wouldn't bet the Flyer team total until I know he's in, but if he's in, we'll lay the minus 160 that's out there on the over 2.5. Again, that's a high price, but it's worth it to get the 2.5 because a lot of times it doesn't take much to get teams to 3 goals these days. So the Flyer team total over 2.5, I am interested in that, especially if Greiss plays, and I lean to Philadelphia in this game as well. Josh, what do you think, St. Louis and Philly?
Oh, I'm going to take Philly. I think Carter Hart hasn't lost in regulation this year. I mean, his save percentage is like Shesterkin's last year right now. I think he's stopped. I think he's 60-something out of 70 the last couple games. He's been hot. And, Thomas Greiss, like you said, he hasn't had the greatest last year in a bit. It was on a tough Detroit team. Like you said, St. Louis is not playing their best right now. And I think I look at the goalie numbers and I'm going to ride Carter Hart until he loses a game.
Sometimes it's that simple. I mean, sometimes it really is that simple. I mean, his record this year is 6-0-2. Hasn't lost in regulation yet. That's another thing. The 2 losses were beyond regulation for Carter Hart in net this year. 1.97 goals against average and a 946 save percentage. So those are outstanding numbers early in the season for Carter Hart. Tortorella saying, I think the goalie sets the tempo for your team. If he looks relaxed, I think it settles the team down also. Sage words, right, Josh? Hard to argue with that.
Yeah, no. And my, former teammate, guy who scored a lot of goals on me, JVR is playing there, so I can't vote against him.
A little bit of the heart going into the bet here with the Philadelphia Flyers for our special guest here, Josh Eunice. All right, New York Islanders, New York Rangers next up. We've got the Rangers minus 180, home favorites, 6 the total in this game. Man, the Rangers are, they're kind of like both of the teams, Josh. I picked a Rangers-Calgary Flames Stanley Cup final this year. They're both in a bit of a rut and a funk right now, both of these teams. I mean, the Rangers are only 3-6 in their last 9 games, which is nothing great. They're off back-to-back home losses to the Bruins and then a rather stunning loss. Now, I know Jarro Halak was in net against Detroit on Sunday, but to have a 2-0 lead, have a great start, not score again the rest of the game against Nedeljkovic, who's been kind of up and down this year, and have Detroit come back on you 3-2 on a back-to-back because the Red Wings had played against the Islanders the day before. It's not a good sign for the New York Rangers. So we'll see if they bounce back here. They're playing a surging Islanders team that, other than the 3-0 loss they had against Detroit, where they were pretty flat in that game on Saturday. Other than that, they've played good hockey. They've won 6 of their last 7. A come-from-behind win against the Calgary Flames last night, 4-3, which was shocking to me because Calgary was certainly the better team. It's one of those games the better teams in the game is not always going to win the game. I mean, Calgary came out strong. They were 15-2, I believe, shots on goal in the first period. They outshot the Islanders 46-32. At the end of the day, Calgary took some bad penalties at inopportune times. They turned, I think every Islander goal, Josh, was off a Calgary turnover last night in that game. And all it took was just those few turnovers and few mistakes, and the Islanders put it in the back of the net. And Calgary, was robbed a couple of times by Sorokin, who was outstanding in net for the Islanders last night. And that was the difference at the end of the day, where even though Calgary carried the play, the Islanders capitalized on the chances they got and made the most of it. We'll see how this one goes. Certainly, we got the Islanders on the back-to-back. The Rangers probably back to Shesterkin, although we don't have goalie confirmations here yet on either side. Just projections that we've got Shesterkin for the New York Rangers, and obviously on the back-to-back here, Semyon Varlamov projected as the goalie for the Islanders tonight in this game. And Varlamov's clearly the backup, the number 2 option right now, because definitely Sorokin's been outstanding. 2-2, 2.91 goals against average, 909 save percentage for Varlamov going into this game. I lean a little bit to the under in this game. I'd certainly lean Rangers, but I'm at the point with the Rangers where, I want to see better hockey from them before I back them, especially at this kind of price, minus 180. Certainly you can bet them in regulation to get closer to even money. That's probably that's a lean for me. I was thinking about pulling the trigger on that. But I think more than anything, I want to sit back and watch this team, play a better 60 minutes of hockey before I'm ready to back them here. And keep in mind, they played each other October 26th, Islanders won 3-0 in that game. I think the Rangers want payback. I think they're still better than the Islanders, but right now the Islanders, just in terms of shorter-term current form, have played a little bit better. So I lean Rangers in regulation. You can get that around -120, but I don't know if I'm going to end up getting to the window with that bet. Josh, what do you think here? Battle of New York. Oh, I think we lost John. Or he's muted. Maybe he's muted.
Yeah,
there.
No, I'm back now.
There you go.
You muted me. I said this one's a tough one, I think. I think the back-to-back is tough. With that being said, I probably would lean Rangers. I think, like you said, getting beat, a couple weeks ago, still fresh in the mind, and the crosstown rivalry. You don't want to go down 0-2. So I think New York bounces back. The Rangers here, and Igor has a good game.
Yeah, that's definitely the way I lean. Rangers in regulation. I just don't know if I'm ready to trust the Rangers. I trusted them on Sunday with team total over against Detroit and found a way to lose that. So I'm a little leery of the Rangers right now, but I do think this does set up the rested team. They certainly are going to want to avenge a 3-0. And look, the shoe's on the other foot this time, Josh. The last time the Islanders and Rangers played, it was the Rangers on a back-to-back. Now this time it's the Islanders on a back-to-back. So now the advantage shifts a little bit schedule-wise to the New York Rangers for this game. I like Oliver Wahlstrom prop, though. It's up on the top line, and he's still not getting priced like it, plus 390. Look, Noah Dobson had a howitzer of a shot for the game winner last night, and all of a sudden, if you look at Dobson, the great defenseman for the Islanders, he's shooting the puck a lot more, and he's actually, from a goals perspective, he's got 2 in the last 5 games. So you want to roll the dice and take him at plus 500 to score a goal tonight. I wouldn't necessarily turn that down. As far as the Rangers go, I've talked about Kakko. I've talked about Lafreniere. They've both been buzzing. They've both been getting chances. And maybe don't sleep on Jimmy Vesey either for a goal scorer prop tonight for the Rangers, because he's been moved up to the top line. And I'm seeing there's some books, PointsBet, Caesars, and others that have plus 650 for this guy to score a goal tonight. And he's on the second line for the New York Rangers tonight with Lafreniere and Vincent Trocheck. So that's good value potentially on Jimmy Vesey for the Rangers tonight. Calgary, New Jersey. We've got the Devils -140, home favorite, 6.5 the total. This is an interesting spot. Calgary's on a back-to-back, first back-to-back of the season. A struggling hockey team, found way to lose again last night to the New York Islanders. Didn't make me too happy because I was on Calgary there. Very unfortunate. I mean, they outplayed the Islanders, but every mistake ended up in the back of their net. And now that's 5 losses in a row for the Calgary Flames. It started with the loss to Edmonton. They blew the third period lead against Seattle. They didn't show up against Nashville from the start and lost that game. New Jersey, they lose in overtime in Calgary on Saturday. And then the loss to the Islanders last night. So it's a revenge spot for Calgary now. They lost at home to the Devils on Saturday night. Now they're playing just a few days later in New Jersey. But I'll be damned if I'm stepping in front of the Devils right now. They're playing great hockey. And Josh, I'm fascinated to get your take on this team. I mean, their speed and their transition game, if you turn the puck over, you're fucked. I mean, against this New Jersey team, you're in super trouble when you turn the puck over against them, because they've got, your Jack Hughes, your Fabian Zetterlund, who I think is, again, ridiculously undervalued in the goal scorer prop market tonight. He's playing with Hischier and Tatar on the top line, and you can still get unbelievable prices on Fabian Zetterlund to score for the New Jersey Devils in this game tonight, just like you have the last few games. I'm looking again. Zetterlund's prop is around plus 380. I think that's an excellent look tonight in this game. You've got Jesper Bratt on fire. I wouldn't argue with that. Sharon Govich, Mercer. I mean, if you're betting props with the Devils right now, you could go in a bunch of different directions. Hell, you could go with Miles Wood on the fourth line, who all of a sudden has 4 goals in the last 4 games for the New Jersey Devils. And he's getting fourth line minutes and still making the most of it and chipping in offensively. And he's plus 350 to plus 400 to score a goal tonight. So a lot of great options here with the Devils in terms of player props tonight. In this game, they will most likely face Dan Vladar for the Calgary Flames in net, with it being a back-to-back. Vitek Vanacek has been confirmed in net for the New Jersey Devils. I lean over the total. I lean New Jersey. I'm just not going against New Jersey. The one concern is you're laying a price now with the Devils, minus 140. A lot of the times they've been underdogs. Are they ready for the favorites role? And number two, they are coming back home off a road trip, and that's usually a dangerous spot. So that's why I'm kind of pumping the brakes on actually laying the price with New Jersey here in this one. I might stick to just over 6.5 when it's all said and done. Vanacek's played better, though, than Blackwood. No question about that. But Calgary, a little fatigued on the back-to-back. And one thing about Calgary versus New Jersey is we've seen a lot of overs, 5 straight, head-to-head between these two teams, 5-0 to the over the last 5 meetings. So riding that series history tonight with over 6.5. Josh, what do you think here, Calgary and the red-hot New Jersey Devils?
I think we've been waiting a long time for New Jersey to get hot, but I think I saw this morning, I think Blackwood's out for several weeks, so
I wouldn't miss him if I'm a Devils fan. I had a little rant on Mackenzie Blackwood. His injuries. You know what I said on the show? It was, here's Mackenzie Blackwood's career so far. Good game, horseshit game, mediocre game, injured out 2 weeks, comes back, good game, mediocre game, horseshit game, out for a month, comes back, good game, mediocre game, horseshit game, out for the season. That's been his career, inconsistency and injury.
Yeah, but I think he was, correct me if I'm wrong, I'm trying to think back to the old days. He had Hutchinson there and Barry.
Yep.
He was kind of a part of that group of, goalie hotbed, Barry Colt team, one after another. And, I think, like you said, he's had some injury issues. That's no question. But yep. I think this would be good for Vitek, right? This is his time. He's in Washington. Again, inconsistency. Now he's going to get the chance to play. And I think this is a lot to be very eye-opening for the rest of his career. I think on the other side, you have Vladar, who is not really, he came in, he shows glimpses of maybe, challenging Markstrom, big, huge guy, but hasn't played really that solid this year. I think New Jersey's firepower is just ridiculous. I mean, they are an exciting team.
And they're fast, really fast.
I think this could be a track meet tonight. I mean, I don't think the Edmonton Oiler play is kind of, Lindy Ruff obviously is a defensive minded coach, but I mean, they're exciting to watch. And I'd say if you made me pick, I'd lean New Jersey. And for the past 5 years, I would probably never lean that way.
Hey, I cashed a ticket. See, that's the thing, Josh. I had New Jersey plus 155 against Calgary Saturday night in the Saddle Dome, and they got the job done. You know what I mean now? And now you see minus 140. I just don't know if that's the value I like.
Yeah.
That's the way. And plus Calgary knows they lost to this team. Even on a back-to-back, I expect the effort to be there for Calgary. So I'm not as excited and enthusiastic about taking New Jersey tonight with this price compared to Saturday night when they were in Calgary getting that price. They do have the rest advantage, but at the same time, that's kind of negated because it's their first home game off a road trip. And every hockey player I've ever talked to and interviewed on this show says the same damn thing. That's a tough spot. First home game off the long road trip, and that's what you got here for New Jersey. So I think sloppiness takes over, and you get the goals. The series history points to that. Calgary, Josh, do you know that they plummeted to 22nd in the league, goals per game allowed, 3.4, 22nd in the NHL during this recent stretch, and they've got cluster injuries on the blue line. Am I correct in saying that when there's cluster injuries on the blue line, there's multiple defensemen out, like what Calgary has right now, Chris Tanev out, Michael Stone out, they haven't had Shillington yet this year, that it leads to your goals against being worse as a hockey team?
Well, it's just, yeah. I mean, as a goalie, you become the expectations of what you expect from your D-man, just even from, going behind the net and stopping a dump in, right? Knowing which D like to come pick up the puck, which D go to the corner. Obviously goalies are expected to be able to make that first outlet pass. Which D-man is more going to tie up in front. I mean, it's having new guys forwards. Nah, I didn't really, to be honest, didn't care. But D-men, it's just expectations. It creates that 1 second of uncertainty, which can obviously make a huge difference.
Yeah, and and it's amazing the parallels between Calgary's team defensive game, faltering, getting worse with the times that Chris Tanev in particular has been out for this team the last couple of years. It's incredible. And now all of a sudden he's missed the last few games, and all of a sudden they're starting to give up goals in bunches again. So you talk about an important defenseman. Nobody talks Chris Tanev, consistently as an upper echelon elite defenseman, but man, is he important in terms of the defensive side of the puck for this team, because once again he's out, and all of a sudden it's not been the same team keeping the puck out of the net. Just like when he was out last year, it was the same thing. So Tanev, definitely his absence significant. I think he's going to miss tonight. I'm just going to try to get an update on that quickly. I believe, though, he's going to miss this game once again tonight, day to day, but it looks like it wasn't available last night. They said status for Tuesday in New Jersey unclear. So maybe he does come back, but they definitely need him back. Arizona and Buffalo. We've got Buffalo minus 230 road favorites, 6.5 the total in this game. It's probably another game where I would lean to goals, because you look at these two teams. You look at Buffalo here. They're coming back off a kind of a disappointing back-to-back on the road against Carolina and Tampa Bay, especially the Carolina game. They started out so strong in that first period, and they ended up losing 5-3. And even the Tampa game, they're up 3-2, can't hold the lead again. They lose 5-3 to the Tampa Bay Lightning, albeit two very good teams. 5 straight overs now for Buffalo going into this game against Arizona. Arizona we don't think of as a terrific offensive team, but they are making some adjustments with the lineup. Andre Tourigny, the head coach, is putting Dylan Guenther, that 19-year-old kid who is staying with the team. He's past his 10-game rookie tryout, deal. So now that he's beyond that number of games, he's sticking with the big club. And he's playing with Barrett Hayton and Clayton Keller on the top line. I think he's a great goal scorer prop look for Arizona tonight because of that move to the top line. For the Sabres, we've got Casey Middlestat and J.J. Peterka, a new look top line, flanking Tage Thompson tonight. So I think Middlestat and J.J. Peterka are both good value props for goal scorer props tonight. We got Skinner moving down to the top second line for the Sabres. Dylan Cousins, the second line center tonight. So Cousins may be a little bit undervalued in the goal scorer prop market as well. Eric Comrie will be in net for the Sabres. It'll be Karel Vejmelka here tonight for the Arizona Coyotes. And Karel Vejmelka is the Forrest Gump of goaltenders. Josh, that's what I call him, because you don't never know what you're going to get from him. Life's like a box of chocolates. You never know what you're going to get. He's had some brilliant games, and then he's been lit up for 5 or 6. In some other games. He's got a 3.72 goals against, 901 save percentage going into tonight for Melka. But yeah, this one for me, over 6.5. The one thing about the Sabres is they're scoring goals, but they're starting to give up a few too many in terms of the defensive side. What do you think here, Josh, with Coyotes Sabres?
Yeah, I mean, I looked at the slate today, and this was I almost just want to flip a coin. Buffalo.
I take Arizona before I can't lay minus 230 with Buffalo. And I like Buffalo. I've cashed a lot with Buffalo, but the last time they were favored in this kind of price, I think it was the Chicago game, and they ended up surviving it. But boy, I'm not ready to lay this price with the Sabres.
Yeah, no, I agree. I was looking at it, and it's like another organization that's come a long way. Keeping true to my ex-teammate, I guess, loyalty. Jeff Skinner was a rookie in Kitchener, my second year there.
Skinner.
We couldn't get the guy to talk, but he is one of the best skaters I ever played with. But I'd probably lean your way. I mean, I think Arizona probably pulls this one off somehow. I don't know if it's the goalie. I can't even say his name, but having a hot one. But I think I'd get on the Coyotes here.
Yeah, and I cashed a ticket with Arizona. I shit you not, but you get the emails. You would have known, Josh. But yeah, I was on Arizona Saturday night against Washington, and that was just that Washington's too injury riddled. Washington's struggling too much. They can't be laying minus 300. And Arizona came back to beat them 3-2 on Saturday night. And this Arizona team, they work hard. They're obviously they have depth issues. If they ever suffer injuries, multiple injuries, forwards, defensemen, they're in trouble because they just don't have the quality depth right now in this organization. But right now, the work ethic's there every night. So if you're Buffalo, you're off these 2 big games against Kakalaki and Tampa. You better be ready to go tonight for this Arizona team because they do work hard. And again, this Buffalo team, I want to back Buffalo, just not when they're laying this kind of price. And we did see the minus 180 favorites one time this year at home lose to Montreal 3-2. So we'll see how they fare tonight against Arizona. But I like a few props that I mentioned earlier and also over 6.5 in that game. All right, one of the games of the night, Josh, Vegas Golden Knights, Toronto Maple Leafs, 2 teams suddenly playing good. Well, Vegas played good hockey all year. Toronto, not so much, but Toronto all of a sudden have saved their best games for the best opponents, the toughest opponents. They've won 3 in a row, 2 of them against Boston and Carolina. 2 of the better teams in the East. They're on a 3-game win streak. Vegas is on a remarkable 7-game win streak, 11-2 on the season. Great matchup here in the T-Dot. We've got Toronto pretty much even money here, minus 110, both sides, 6.5 the total in this game. Eric Shalgren once again in net for the Leafs with Samsonov out, and of course Murray still on IR. So this is Eric Shalgren's net. I give that kid a lot of credit, Josh, this young 26-year-old goalie from Sweden, Eric Shalgren, because Samsonov gets hurt against Boston. He has to come in the third period, tough situation against a very good team, and he came in off the bench and he played great. They blocked a lot of shots, the Leaf defense. They helped him out. They were blocking shots like it was Game 7. Of a playoff series. It was very impressive to see that. And then he starts the back-to-back Sunday afternoon against Carolina because Matt Murray's out still. They just called up Keith Petruzzelli from the Marlies to be the backup. They didn't want to throw him in right away, so they gave Shalgren the start Sunday, and he was terrific, I thought. It was a great game from him against Carolina. So this kid is in a tough spot, tough shoes to fill, tough situation, comes in and plays great in these 2 games. So I give him a lot of credit. And the Leafs, this is becoming a pattern, Josh, with the Leafs. They will suck and disappoint you and just make you shake your head, losing to your San Jose's of the world, Arizona's of the world, and then they'll come back and they'll beat Boston and Carolina in back-to-back games. That's what they do. This is a pass for me. Vegas, to me, is not a team I'm going against right now. They've won 7 in a row. They're playing great. Their entire team, defensively, their structure is terrific with Bruce Cassidy, which was a great hire. Logan Thompson is playing well in net. They're getting contributions offensively from everyone. I think Eichel, Riley Smith, Marchessault, Chandler Stevenson, all those guys would be Golden Knights players I would target for props and goal scorer props tonight in this game. For Toronto, I'd target Nick Robertson. This is more of a prop game for me. Nick Robertson's back in the lineup. He's on the second line. He's, of course, the brother of Jason Robertson. And Nick Robertson obviously has a ways to go to be as good as Jason, but he's shown glimpses. He's been a healthy scratch the last couple games, and I think tonight he might make an impact. Keep in mind, when he got the first opportunity with the Leafs in the lineup against Dallas weeks ago, he had 2 goals, including the game winner. So I love taking a shot here with Nick Robertson. He was good to us earlier this season in the bargain bin goal scorer prop market, and here we go tonight again with another good price on him back in the lineup, plus 450. In some spots, and he's going to play with John Tavares and William Nylander on the second line for the Leafs tonight. So I love that prop quite a bit. Josh, what do you think here, Vegas, Toronto?
I think this one, the tough one to call again. I think
because this is the kind of game the Leafs are winning. They've shown up to the good teams, the best teams. That's the way it's been lately.
Yeah, but you look at Vegas and they are just humming. It's the Leafs' home advantage is not. I don't not worry. I think Vegas keeps the train going. I'm going to stick to my CIS lineage with Logan Thompson, but it's a tough one. I have some. I think it could easily, like you said, this is not an easy one to bet on, just because Toronto. You hate them one day and you love them the next, and then we're always, just one game short. In Vegas, they are hot. So but if you made me pick, which is kind of why I'm here, I would, I'd stick with Vegas.
And that's the thing. I have games where I don't have an opinion or a strong opinion. You don't, obviously, either. I mean, I tell that to everybody. You don't have to have a strong take on every game from a betting perspective. There's going to be games you're not as enthused about. And that's why, for me, this is a game I dabble in some of my goal score bargain bin player props, and that's about it. I mean, I wouldn't know what to do with the total. Someone's asking me, Ron, in the chat, what about the over? The problem is the Leafs are playing tighter with Shalgren in net. They're really trying to help this young kid out, play better defense, block more shots, and they're 6-1 to the under in their last 7 home games. So this is a Leaf team that actually lately, especially on home ice, they have been trending over under the total. I know Vegas has had a couple overs on this road trip, the Montreal game and the Ottawa game, but Ottawa plays a brisk pace, not good defensively. Montreal, kind of the same thing. Tonight, I think this could be an under, and keep in mind the first meeting between these teams was 3-1 Vegas. That went under. The under's 4 of the last 5 meetings to the under with these two teams head-to-head. Like I said, Toronto at home, 6-1 to the under in their last 7 at home. So I got to lean under here in this game. The counter argument to that is you're still talking about a young goalie. He could blow up at any given moment, Shalgren. But I don't know. He's played really good. He's square to the shooter. He's got confidence, and they're playing well in front of him the last couple of games. So for that reason, I'd lean under with the total in that Golden Knights Leafs game. Montreal, Detroit. Detroit minus 155, home favorites, 6 the total in this game. This is a spot where, look, Detroit playing well at home. I mean, it's tough to go against the Red Wings in Little Caesars Arena in Detroit. 5-2. They're back 3 straight wins for them against Washington, the Islanders, beating the Rangers on a back-to-back. Very impressive. However, third game in 4 nights for the Red Wings and 2 days of rest for Montreal. I kind of find that Montreal could be a bit of a live dog tonight. That's just me. And I love this Detroit team. I find it difficult to bet against them right now. But at the same point in time, you got Montreal off 3 losses in a row, albeit they've been fairly competitive even in the losses. Overtime loss to Winnipeg, 6-4 loss to Vegas. They never gave up in that game. Should be pointed out, though, they do have some injuries. Mike Matheson still out on the blue line. Dadonov out indefinitely. And most importantly, Josh Anderson suspended for that vicious boarding incident on Pietrangelo on Saturday night from the Vegas game, and he won't be eligible to return until Saturday against Pittsburgh. So Josh Anderson playing on that top line, of course, this season with Caulfield. It's been a nice little combination there. So they won't have him. It'll be Suzuki, Caulfield, Doc on the top line, Drouin, Monahan, the second line for the Canadiens. Looks like Juraj Slafkovsky is going to be getting some first unit power play time for the Montreal Canadiens. They've got it on RotoWire that they've got him in the top power play unit for Montreal. So I'm thinking that young kid, that first overall pick, might be value here tonight to score a goal against the Detroit Red Wings. You can get Juraj Slafkovsky at around plus 410 in some spots to score a goal tonight. Hey, if he's going to get power play time, first power play unit, that's a good value price, in my opinion, for maybe him to dent the twine in this game tonight. So as much as I'm pro Detroit, I actually lean to the Habs a little bit as a road dog, rested team in this spot. What do you think here, Josh? Montreal, Detroit.
So growing up, I was a Colorado Avalanche fan, and I live in Red Wing country, and I just can't root for them. So simply Montreal, purely because I've never liked the Red Wings. I like that, they're finally getting back and starting to play better and are improving. And Billy Husso has been solid all year. Montreal, funny, when I was at Western, I actually helped coach Nick Suzuki. And you look at him now, and I look at him, 7 years ago, 8 years ago, and he's still the same happy kid. And I cannot go in my heart for the Red Wings. So I think Montreal takes this one.
All right, Montreal with the underdog price. And I haven't decided I'm actually going to bet Montreal because Detroit's been damn good at home and good overall lately. And I like this team. I've got them over their point total. Josh, I know you hate them, but I bet them over their point total, the Red Wings, and that's off to a nice start before the season. And Billy Husso has been terrific lately in net. He's going to get the start tonight for the Detroit Red Wings. It'll be Jake Allen, of course, for Montreal. But Husso, 5-1-2, 1.86 goals against, 941 save percentage. He was excellent against the Islanders, 24-save shutout in that start on Saturday. So that's probably why it's just going to stay in the lean category for me, Montreal. There's no doubt there's a spot advantage and an advantage in the schedule tonight for Montreal, but tough to go against Detroit. They're playing good. They've been good at home. Edmonton, Tampa Bay. We got Tampa Bay minus 170. Home favorites, 6.5 being the total in this game. Fascinating to see how this one plays out. Actually, before we get to that, Detroit, there was a couple goal scorer props I wanted to mention. Kubalik, he's red hot. Adam Ernie, and specifically Pius Suter. Pius Suter has been moved up to the top line, and he's made the most of it for the Detroit Red Wings. Goals in back-to-back games, playing with Lucas Raymond and Dylan Larkin on that top line for Detroit. Great prop value. I liked him in the last game. He found the back of the net against the Rangers. You come back to the well with Pius Suter here tonight for the Detroit Red Wings. Top line, and what's he to score a goal? Plus 370? Yeah, you got to bet that. Top line player at plus 370. You don't get that every day. All right, Oilers Lightning. I actually want to take Edmonton here, Josh. I do. I know things are going bad for this team right now. They're struggling in their own end. They give up another 5 spot last night, 3rd loss in a row. It really all started with that. Remember, they had 5 wins in a row. Edmonton playing well, streaky bunch they are. Then they blow that game against New Jersey and lose in the 3rd period, snaps the win streak. And it's basically come off the rails again after that. New Jersey, they haven't really rebounded. They lost 6-2 to Dallas at home. They lose 5-4 to Washington last night. Awful lack of discipline from Edmonton. They were in the penalty box all night, and the penalty kill was horrible. They give up 4 power play goals to the Washington Capitals last night. Special teams was the difference in that game last night. That's continuing to be an issue for this team. Tampa Bay, they have now won 4 of their last 5. They've gone over the total in 4 straight. So I know I definitely like over 6.5 tonight in this game. No question about that. I've already locked that in. But from a side perspective, Jack Campbell's going to start tonight. It was Stuart Skinner last night for Edmonton, which means Campbell will get this nod tonight for the Oilers. At some point, I think he's going to be better, but we talked about Campbell a lot earlier in the show. 4.21 goals against average, 874 save percentage. You got a blue line that's struggling, a penalty kill that's struggling lately. I mean, they've given up 6 power play goals in the last 2 games, Edmonton. That's simply not good enough. That's not going to cut it. And now they're fatigued because they're on a back-to-back a little bit here. It's also the 3rd game in 4 nights for Edmonton. I don't think I can do it. I like the idea of getting this price with Edmonton. I still think a good hockey team against a motivated Campbell against I still think a little bit of an overvalued Tampa team, even though they've won a bunch of games. So I want to take Edmonton. I don't think I can trust them enough to do so. I like the over, though, 6.5. Josh, what do you think, Edmonton, Tampa Bay?
I agree with you on the over. To be honest with you, I was going to go Edmonton the entire time until you spoke. And now I think I do lean Tampa. I mean, they're just a solid team. And ultimately, it does come down to defense. I think Tampa takes it. I think they just play a more structured, organized game, top to bottom. I do think this definitely has the potential to be a high-scoring affair for sure, but I'd lean Tampa.
Yeah, lean Tampa. I definitely like the over. I'm probably going to pass on the side and look more toward props for this game, value props again. Nugent Hopkins, I still think there's value there, and he scored last night. Since he's played on the top line, he's starting to get his goal-scoring production going. So RNH for Edmonton at another good, plus 280 type price, worth a look. Jesse Puljujärvi. Every freaking time I take this a goal scorer prop with him when he moves up to the top line, which apparently looks like it might happen tonight, I keep thinking, yeah, he's going to capitalize. He's playing with McDavid. He can almost score a goal by accident, when you're playing with number 97. And yet, sure enough, he still finds a way to not produce. But he's getting an opportunity tonight. Jesse Puljujärvi here for the Edmonton Oilers, playing on the top line tonight with McDavid and with Ryan Nugent-Hopkins. Let's see how he takes advantage of it. Hopefully he does. But I think a small sprinkle on him to find the back of the net might be worth a look as well in the game tonight. As far as Tampa goes, I've mentioned Brandon Hagel. He scored against Buffalo, playing on the top line. He's a little bit undervalued. I'd go with Nick Paul as well. Nick Paul's feeling it for the Tampa Bay Lightning. Goals in back-to-back games. He's moved up to the second line center spot for the Tampa Bay Lightning. More opportunity, more ice time, more opportunity to score goals. So I like Nick Paul as well for the Tampa Bay Lightning tonight in terms of goal prop. All right, Dallas, Winnipeg. Dallas minus 120 road favorites, 6 the total in this game. Stars, another team that have gotten off to a strong start this season, 8-4, 7-4 Winnipeg so far. Winnipeg's won 5 of their last 6 games. The Stars have won 3 in a row, 4 of their last 5. So you got 2 teams playing some good hockey going into this head-to-head matchup. We'll see if that continues. Stars have really dominated Winnipeg. Dallas is 5-1 in the last 6 meetings against the Winnipeg Jets. Tough game. I mean, you got Dallas playing well. They are going home after this, though, and this is a road trip that's been pretty damn good for them. You know, Dallas 2-0 over Washington. They lose 6-3 to the Rangers. Their only loss on this road trip, or actually that was the homestand. The road trip was 7-2 over Arizona, 6-2 over Edmonton. Now tonight in Winnipeg. Then they go home. They face San Jose. It's not the kind of spot when you've won 2 in a row on the road and you're trying to complete the road trip. I find sometimes that's where you stumble when you're at the end of a pretty successful road trip. That being said, as I mentioned, the Stars have done pretty well head-to-head against Winnipeg. They already have a victory against the Jets earlier this year, October 17th. That being said, I'll lean a little bit to Winnipeg here. You got them at around plus 100. Wedgwood is still in net for Dallas because of the injury to Jake Ottinger. Let me get your thoughts, Josh, on Jake Ottinger. I think this guy's the real deal. It's been incredible. I mean, he's the reason it got to Game 7 against Calgary last year. He's really the only reason it got that far. They were an overtime goal away from winning that series because of Jake Ottinger's heroics. This kid looks like he's a damn good goalie.
Yeah, no, I mean, he's been touted, ever since before he even came to the U.S. program. He's performed at every level. They're obviously super high on him. I think he is the real deal. I think, they look at it'd be interesting to see if Ben Bishop was still playing. Where would Ottinger or where would Bishop be? But obviously Ben had some injury problems. So here, though, I think I go Winnipeg as well. I like Connor Hellebuck. Talk about a guy that just really came out of nowhere. Has become a perennial Vezina, a potential winner. I mean, Scott Wedgwood was actually the goalie I was trying to fight in that video's backup in Plymouth. Another very good goalie, great guy. But here I gotta lean Winnipeg. I mean, Hellebuck, just every game, you're going to get, 92, 93 save percentage consistently. And when you're getting those numbers out of your goalie, it's tough to lose.
Yeah, I think I'm going to end up betting Winnipeg here. This is one game that I've been on the fence with all day long. The draw. Alex P. Smith's not with us, but you're right. The draw is in play with Dallas and Winnipeg. I know the previous game was 4-1 Dallas, October 17th, but prior to that, Josh, 5 straight games between Winnipeg and Dallas had gone to either overtime or a shootout. So if you want to, this is a candidate. I think it's not a bad candidate for a draw that we could see some overtime tonight between the Stars and the Jets. You can get that at plus 330, Dallas and Winnipeg draw in this one. I have a feeling this would be on Alex P. Smith's card. You know what? Alex actually did send me his card, knowing he was going to be off the show today because of being injured, being sick. So I will take a look at that. See, he is on that. I knew he would be. Yeah, Alex does like that draw. Plus 330, Winnipeg and Dallas. So I wouldn't argue with that. I think this is probably going to be a tight game. I lean Winnipeg too. I mean, they're playing well. They lost to Dallas previously. I still trust Hellebuck a little bit more than I trust Wedgwood. Again, Dallas at the end of this little road trip, which has been successful. Sometimes you don't get the best performance from a team in this situation. So I'm going to lean to a Winnipeg here, plus 100 at home in this one. I'll probably go ahead with betting it in some form before puck drop. Plus 350, says Chris Otto in our chat. It was an even better price in some spots with that draw for Dallas and Winnipeg. There was one other game I was thinking was a draw. St. Louis, was it St. Louis, Philly? I'm trying to think the draw. There was one other draw game I was thinking. Vegas, Toronto, I think it was. That might be a decent draw candidate. But the one thing that's a parallel, Josh, on this show is that we've got Calgary struggling. We've got Pittsburgh, even though they're not playing tonight, Pittsburgh is struggling, losing a bunch of games in a row. Edmonton's losing a bunch of games in a row coming into tonight. Like I mentioned, Calgary, St. Louis. It's one of those things where you want to say, hey, the team's lost a bunch in a row. They're fired up. They're desperate. They're going to want to turn it around. Let's bet on them. But at the same point in time, you almost don't want to step in front of the falling knife either, and you almost don't want to project the losing streak to end. Because if you did that with Pittsburgh, Josh, on Saturday night, against Seattle, you ended up with another betting loss because Seattle won that game and Pittsburgh lost again. So it's that tough debate as a bettor, Josh. Do you want to, hey, the team's desperate. They got to end this streak at some point versus, well, hold on now. I got to actually see them play well and win before I want to back them. How do you approach those kind of things, teams in losing streaks?
I think it's the same. To be honest with you, it's almost the same as a team that's winning all the time.
Yep.
It becomes ingrained, right? And oftentimes it's just a bounce. I mean, it just takes a bounce. And then all of a sudden, just that it's the same thing when you're winning all the time. One little thing goes wrong, it can fester, and then the winning streak ends. I mean, I look back to OHL finals. I'm in Kitchener. We're up 3-0 versus Belleville. We had we were running away with the series in the OHL championship. And then a deflection from my own guy goes in. We lose. Then we lose again. Then we lose again. And now went up from 3-0 to tie going into game 7. And what kind of, took the self-doubt was Belleville brought back Sean Matthias. He was one of the best players in the OHL at the time, and he came back, and we were like, they are going to be they think they have this. I mean, Their number one guy's coming back. Their goalie of the year, Mike Murphy, is, playing hot right now. And, it just came back and turned around to, there's no way that that they're going to win this. And that was it. Sean Matthias coming back, switched our gear around to the point where, we had something to prove. And he thought he was coming back to win a championship and move on. And we ended up winning game 7. So I think it is just, a tale of who's going to get the straw that breaks the camel's back, right? It's
that one play to turn the tide. Correct.
Yeah.
I hear what you're saying. Yeah.
Here, I think Seattle wins. I mean, I used to train with Martin Jones back in the day. Again, I'm goalie biased. Great.
Oh, he's been a whipping boy on the Ice Guys show, Josh. I got to admit, we've had some harsh criticism for this guy the last few years, but at the same point in time, we got to give him credit where credit's due, and he's in a nice groove right now.
Yeah. No, I mean, I think it's, it's his career kind of has paralleled, Jack Campbell a little bit, right? He, came in, and boy, was he unbelievable in LA, right? And then, he moves on, not the best there in San Jose, but the teams he was playing weren't great. I mean, he didn't have a great save percentage, but, they weren't, the fan base I think didn't get behind him. But, now you look at, he was in Philly. Now you look at him here in Seattle, and, he's playing solid. He's that 900 goalie that, people became accustomed to. In Nashville, I mean, they just can't seem to win. I mean, they're exciting. Don't get me wrong. One of the coolest environments I've ever seen is Broadway when Nashville's, humming, but I think it's rebuild time.
I'm not a big fan of this Nashville team, Josh, either. I mean, I think to me, they rely on players that they had bounce back years, Johansson and Duchesne. And I find there's some nights you can't find them with a telescope on the ice either, and that's the issue. And, their blue line, I love Yossi, and obviously he's coming off an incredible year, but Yossi hasn't quite had the same start this year that he had last year. And after you get past Roman Yossi, there's a lot of guys that are trying to play minutes that they're maybe not ready for right now. on that Nashville Predators blue line when you're talking about, and Ekholm's been around forever, but you got Jordan Gross could be a decent player. I mean, he's made the most of his opportunity, but you got Fabro and you got Jeremy Lozon, Ryan McDonough. It's been a slow start for him, coming over from the New York Rangers and the Rangers years ago, then the Tampa Bay Lightning coming over from Tampa, and establishing himself here. I think Niederreiter's been good for them getting him, but it's just been a lot of inconsistencies, and it's shocking to see some of the defensive lapses they've had at times, Nashville, including the game against Vancouver, but they got away with it because Vancouver just gave it right back to them. So this is a tough one for me, Josh, this Nashville-Seattle game. Seattle's playing well. I'm not going against them, but it's that dreaded home game off a long road trip through the East. I mean, it really does have that feel of that clunker game for Seattle, but I don't like Nashville enough to bet them, even if maybe the spot's a little bit in their favor. So it's an easy pass for me when it comes to Nashville and Seattle. I would look at maybe a Zach Sanford prop for Nashville because he's up to the second line and he's not being priced like it. And Seattle, I would keep rocking with the players that have been getting it done for them lately offensively. Alex Wenberg, Burakovsky, Jaden Schwartz, Matty Beniers. Those have been the guys that have been getting the offense going for the Seattle Kraken. And Wenberg especially, now that he's playing top-line center, he is starting to find it again. This guy with all kinds of talent going back to his Columbus Blue Jackets days many years ago, and just has been slow developing for him, starting to develop now for the Seattle Kraken, and he's playing on the top-line center spot. So Dave Hackstall clearly has the confidence in him right now. All right, final game. And we thank Josh for his time. I mean, we knew it was going to be an hour. We didn't necessarily expect it was going to be 90 minutes, but great show. But thank you, Josh, for hanging in there with us.
Hey, my pleasure. Now being an attorney, I bill by the hour, so I'll make sure to send you the bill. But no, it's been my pleasure. I really appreciate it, and I'd love to come back and talk some more hockey because, like I said, I don't get to talk talk hockey much anymore. I've stepped away from the game and don't really needed a bit of a break. So it's nice every once in a while to come back and make some picks and go from there.
Well, exactly. And I've invited other people on this show, and they say after they retire, and they just said, you know what? After I retired, I don't even know who's playing on any given day. I can't even mention who's playing for who and what the schedule is, and I don't watch any of the games. People are like that. You're not alone there. Sometimes initially, too, when you first hang up the skates, you need that downtime. It's burnout, and you just need that time away from the game, and it obviously helped you a little bit having that, right?
Yeah, no, definitely. It was exactly what happened. I mean, my career ended in a like I said, June 26th of 2016. I know the date. I had a random made a save on a guy, and he went behind the net and shoved it and hit me below the back plate of my helmet, and that was all she wrote. I went to the hospital on a backboard and lost all feeling from my neck down, and I was done at that point. I played in one charity game. I made it half the game. It was 11-0, and they told me to go have a beer on the bench. But that was it, and I just needed a break. My whole life I love the game, and it's given so much to me. I owe it all to my mom. If it wasn't for the game of hockey and me going to Ann Arbor, I would have never met my fiance. So it's amazing what the game's done, but at the same time, people take vacations from their, daily job, and my daily job was hockey for almost my entire life. So it's been needed. I'm thinking about getting back in as maybe a forward, see what I can bring to the adult leagues now.
There you go. Exactly. Play in those adult leagues and change it up. Doesn't mean because you played goal in juniors and pro, you got to play goal in an adult league. No, you want to change it up, experiment. Why not?
Yeah, there's not a lot I'm certain about in hockey, but the fact that I will probably never play goalie again is that's almost certain. I mean,
that's a betting lock, you're saying.
Yeah, that's they won't put that one on the board. It's taking a toll on the body, and it's tough. I tell some of my friends, childhood best friends, still play, and I remember coming home and playing and dropping and playing the goalie. And I said, I was fortunate enough to have the best of the best shoot on me every day, coming now and having, older, not great people, just not the same skill level. That I don't think I'd enjoy that. I want to go out and, test myself playing out, because it's not pretty.
No, it's it takes its toll. No, there's no question. That's been the consensus. Definitely, everyone I've talked to, what the toll it takes physically to play this sport. Minnesota Wild, Los Angeles Kings, the final game of this massive 11-game Tuesday slate. We've got the LA Kings. That's actually even money, -110 both sides here, 6.5 the total in this game. This one, I'm thinking about actually playing Terry Edelman's Minnesota Wild in this game. They've actually been better on the road, the Minnesota Wild, compared to at home, and that's rare because they've been so good in the XL Energy Center for the last few years. But you're looking at the Minnesota Wild; they've kind of had this malaise a little bit playing on home ice. They haven't exactly always played their absolute best at home this year. They've actually played very well on the road. They enter this game at 3-2. On the road. One of those losses was in overtime against Boston earlier this season. So, it's a Minnesota team that, and the other loss was against Detroit, 2-1 in a game where, it was actually a great goaltending display by Ville Husso that night. And other than that, they've played some pretty good hockey here away from XL Energy Center. You've got the LA Kings coming into this game, playing a nice performance against Florida, a nice comeback, I should say, against Florida. It didn't always start out well for them, but they played a lot better as the game went on, and they ended up getting a 5-4 win over the Florida Panthers on Saturday night. And that was the first home game off a long road trip for the Kings, getting that 5-4 comeback win. Minnesota's been off since last Thursday, that 4-0 shutout loss at home to the Seattle Kraken, and they were just completely lethargic in that game, start to finish. They had a wild, crazy game, with LA earlier this year in Minnesota. It ended 7-6 in favor of the LA Kings. It was just a wild game, defense optional, both teams just trading goals back and forth. I'd certainly lean to an over tonight with these two teams at 6.5. But I think I like Minnesota here. I like that they get a little downtime. They have all kinds of days off between Thursday and this game tonight to get acclimated to the time zone change, playing on the West Coast. I think the Wild are in a good situation here against the LA Kings to get the victory here on the road. So I like Minnesota here, -110. Also lean toward the over. And as far as props go, we've got a great situation for Minnesota tonight that I always like to mention and take advantage of, and that's player moving up the lineup and also player returning from injury. Jordan Greenway for the Minnesota Wild, returning and playing on the second line with Joel Eriksson-Ek and Matt Boldy. You want your goal scorer prop value in this game, probably for Minnesota. It's Jordan Greenway. He's going to get that opportunity, and you can get him plus 625 to score a goal in some spots. I like that. For the LA Kings, I would stick to the same players I've mentioned all year. Gabe Vilardi is on fire. Healthy and playing his best hockey. Rasmus Kupari, if you want value on the third line, is starting to contribute. Even Blake Lizotte down on the fourth line, and Arthur Kaliev on the fourth line have chipped in offensively. Hell, Blake Lizotte has scored in back-to-back games. Kaliev has 2 goals in the last 4 games. These are guys that you can capitalize at plus 400 to score tonight for Kaliev. And Blake Lizotte, goals in back-to-back games for LA, and he's got as high as plus 550 to score a goal tonight. I know he's down the lineup, but he's got goals in back-to-back games, and he's finding a way to contribute. So not a bad game when it comes to value goal scorer props. Josh, final game. What do you like, Minnesota, LA?
Oh, I'm going Minnesota. I think, just looking, Jonathan Quick, hell of a goalie. Marc-Andre Fleury, growing up, that guy, he was a couple years older than me. I remember he had him, and then he had Tuukka Rask, and he's getting hot. He is hot right now. His numbers you think he's climbing Everest. And then, Jonathan Quick, Yeah, they won the last time out. Not his best effort. Stats, not quite 900. I don't believe. Um, I think Minnesota pulls this one out. I think they are hot right now, and Fleury. They're both goalies that can steal games. That's for sure. But I like Marc Andre where he's playing right now, and like we said about Jack Campbell, I think Fleury has turned the corner, and Minnesota's going to get the goalie that everybody thought they were going to.
Yeah, and you know what, a nice little dynamic for this game, Josh, that I think works out well, and you can speak to this too. The goalie that gets pulled, now Fleury's been pulled a lot the last, in his time with Minnesota, it's been up and down, let's be honest, for Marc-Andre Fleury, but he was specifically pulled from the game against LA, that 7-6 game, after giving up 4 goals, a game the Kings ended up winning in Minnesota a few weeks ago, 7-6. You got to believe a very fiery competitor like Marc-Andre Fleury remembers, hey, I got yanked from the net the last time I played this team, and now I get a chance to play them again tonight. I think watch Marc-Andre Fleury. That doesn't mean he's going to stand on his head and pitch a shutout or anything, but I expect a guy that's really ready to make amends for that last performance against LA tonight.
Yeah, I think that's true. I think he does have the bulletin board material per se. I remember. Funny enough, it made me just think of this. I was drafted the same year Akeem Alou. Akeem Alou got drafted before me, was traded from Sudbury to London. London, is a perennial powerhouse in the OHL. And I remember at my first NHL rookie camp, Akeem and I just committed to Kitchener, and he's going to London. And he told me that he was pretty much going to see to it that I gave up a plethora of goals, and I mental note that, and I'm pretty sure I shut him out 3 times that year. If not 3, it was definitely 2, and I think we swept the series, maybe lost the last game at Budweiser, but it is definitely amazing. You don't forget those things. I mean, losing a game, 3-2, and it's a back and forth tight game. Okay, yeah, that one, you may brush under the rug, but getting pulled is something that sticks with you, and it's definitely something you want to, make right the next time around.
Yeah, I just get a sneaking suspicion here with the Kings with just how up and down that Florida game was tonight. I don't know. I think they not that they're going to take the night off, not play well. I honestly think they're right now playing as good, if not better, than Minnesota overall. I just think situationally this is home run spot for Minnesota. The question is, are they going to be able to take advantage of it? Rested team, starting a road trip where they've played better hockey than they have at home, an LA team that they lost to 7-6, a goalie facing that same team he got pulled against in that 7-6 loss. So I think there's a lot of things that add up for Minnesota. We'll see if they can take advantage of it here tonight. All right, that's the Tuesday card. Great breakdown and analysis. Josh, before we wrap this up, we got to get a best bet, your first ever Ice Guys show best bet for this Tuesday slate. If you had to choose a best bet, what would you go with?
Oh, boy. I'd probably say.
Yeah, I know it's not easy for me some days too. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I look at it, I'm like, well, what did I do? I'm looking at it, and my gut says I have to pick one, too. So this is even harder. I really like Winnipeg over Dallas.
All right. I agree with you there.
I think that's going to be that's my bet. I really wanted to go against Detroit just because of my disdain for them since my childhood, but we'll take the high road, and I think Winnipeg over Dallas.
All right, Winnipeg Jets plus 100 against the Dallas Stars. Josh Eunice with his first best bet here on the Ice Guys show, and we'll see if they're able to get the job. I think that was one game where I did not mention any prop. Did I bet any props? I don't think there was many I liked in that game as much. I Wyatt Johnston and Mason Marchment would be. I've talked about them for Dallas quite a bit. I think that's where the value lies with them. I think for the Winnipeg Jets, it's probably Cole Perfetti on the second line. for them if you're looking at. And Jansen Harkins looks like he's going to draw into the lineup. He's starting on the fourth line, but he's got offensive upside. So if you really want to get bold here, Jansen Harkins, even though he's playing on the fourth line for the Jets, for player goal scorer props in that game. All right, my best bet for this Tuesday card. I'm going to keep it simple here. Neither of these teams are really getting it done defensively right now. Let's go Vancouver, Ottawa, over 6.5, minus 135. I think you're going to get goals in that all-Canadian matchup tonight with the Canucks and the Senators. Vancouver, Ottawa, over 6.5. That will be my best bet here for this Tuesday NHL card. That's a wrap. Josh, amazing stuff. Great show. This was a whole lot of fun. We will definitely do this again and get you back on the show down the road.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
And I'll try to keep helping you cash with those betting emails. Let's hope we still help you out with those moving forward. Great stuff with everyone in the chat. Hit the like button on the way out. A reminder, the Ice Guys is live 7 days a week, Monday to Friday, 2 p.m. Eastern, Saturday and Sunday, noon Eastern. If you can't watch the show live, download the Ice Guys podcast in audio form on all major podcast platforms: Google Podcasts, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Stitcher, iHeartRadio, Amazon Music, and more. Download the Ice Guys podcast when you can't watch the show live. For our special guest, Josh Eunice, I'm Ian Cameron. Have a great Tuesday night. Enjoy the games and good luck. We'll talk to you again tomorrow on Wednesday for another edition of the Ice Guys presented by National Hockey Now.